Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jim Coppinger with ZenTek Consultants, and today we're going to be giving you 3 tips to make Bluebeam takeoffs work for you. In other words, 3 tools built right into your Bluebeam that I just see far too many people not making effective use of, and they're tools that I think every one of us should be working with every single day. So, um, throughout this class, or presentation rather, I really encourage you guys is we go through it. If you have questions, you have both the question box and the chat dialog box in your go-to control panel there. Please feel free to type your questions in. I may not get to them as we're going in real time through the presentation, but at the end, I am going to have a little Q&A session for a few minutes, so I will get to your questions, or as many of them as I can in the time we have allotted. So please feel free to ask your questions as we go. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into this. So who are we? We are ZenTek Consultants, for those of you who haven't worked with us before. And we work primarily in the architecture, engineering, construction industry, focusing on all the technology needs that everyone has. We're a premier Bluebeam partner, as well as a Microsoft Cloud Solutions provider, Autodesk trainer and support, and really just about any kind of technology support, training, configuration, consultation, whatever you need, we're here to help. So we hope you'll keep us in mind for more than just Bluebeam. All right, so there you go. That's the big sales pitch. So with that done, we can actually go ahead and jump right into the tips for today. So tip number 1, all right? So the first thing that I'm going to talk to you guys about today is tool chests, right? And it's really a dramatically underused tool, or even if you're using it inside of Bluebeam, what I see all too often is that people are kind of creating tool chests on their own local machines on the fly as they need it and kind of fumbling through it. Right? But the idea behind tool chests is that you're looking to develop kind of company-based reusable functions, right? That you've already got preset properties, display options, items, layers, all the intelligence that you need, particularly when you get into labeling and controlling quantity takeoff and estimating items. And you want to be able to take that, put it into a reusable tool set, and distribute that same tool set throughout your entire company. All right, and it's a really easy process. So let's go ahead and I'm going to jump over here to review real quick, just to kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. So when you get into review, right, and if you go over onto your side panel, you can turn on your tool chest, right, and you can build and customize and structure your tool chest into multiple palettes, and you can break that down into groups or different types of work. Like we have here, I have what we call our interiors tool set on display, and you can see I've broken it down into different functions for, casework, demolition, doors, finishes, etc. Right? And the idea with these, I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to open up the casework one, right, is that you can build these tools, and the tools are very simple to build. You can create tools from quite literally any type of Bluebeam object that you draw on screen. In other words, you can do it with markups, you can do it with text items, you can do it with lines, circles, arcs, and you can do it with quantity takeoff items, areas, poly lengths, counts, things of that nature, right? And what you can do then is you can assemble all of those items, whatever they may happen to be, right? And it's very simple. So if I were to go in here and draw a polyline very quickly, I'm just going to give you a very basic example, right? And you wanted to be able to use this polyline again and again with its format and its layout and its controls. I can just right click on that, and you see I can just add that to any of my tool chests, right? And I can build custom tool chests and so on up here. And we're going to get too deeply into the how-to of building tool chests today. But once I've added tools to my tool chest, I can add a lot of additional information to those, right? So you see, for example, if I came in here and I've got a number of base cabinets that I'm going to be using here as kind of a separator through my printer island. If I wanted to go in and start doing quantity takeoff on those, you see I've got a base cabinet count tool, right, just for counting the number of cabinets that I have. And it already comes with a predefined label. In other words, it's already structured here, just the way I chose to do it. For integration with schedules, right? So when I've got a casework cabinet type A, B, C already in my finished schedules, I can just tie those right here using my symbol. So I can just easily come in, right? And if I've got 6 of these base cabinets, right, I can just go in and drop my symbols just like that. And you see I'm getting a fully developed count. And if I go look at my markups list, you'll see it's giving me a count of 6 items, right? All the information that I need there, right? Now, when you're dealing with these, one of the other things that's great, right, is that you can predefine, like I said, your text. So you see here I've got the base type with a question mark. Well, just by going into your properties list here, I can easily change that to tie that to the schedule. Say, hey, this is tying to schedule item A1, right? No problem. I can easily change the type, or I can even give it a completely different setup. If we're not structuring these in the format of a schedule, maybe we're given actual sizes, I can easily go in and say, hey, this is a 30 by 24 base cabinet. No problem. I can put in whatever I need here in terms of text and sorting, so that when I do get down into working with my markups list over here, you can see that it's able to sort and filter, and it's keeping track of these by label for me, right? So it's very easy to add any tools you want, including not just counts and blocks like I have here, but I can use linear structures. So here, for example, I have linear casework, right? So if I'm going in and I need to do some, maybe I'm doing mounting some kind of a wall shelf from here to here. Okay, you see I can go in here and it says linear casework, right? It's giving me my overall length. It's an actual quantity takeoff item, right? With all my display properties predefined, right? And I can very easily change that from linear casework to, 6-inch pine shelving, whatever it is I'm taking off here, okay? So I can go in and modify and set these values to whatever I need them to be on the fly. The benefit here in using these tool palettes is that you wind up with a centralized company-based set of tools. One of the hardest things to do when you're doing a takeoff is when you've got multiple people going in and out of different projects and different pages within different projects. It's almost impossible to keep track of what is what on your screen, right? When you go in and, Tom did it, and these are purple lines with polka dots, and then Fred did the same 6-inch pine shelving on the 3rd floor, and it's a bright red line, right? That's solid. And he called it pine shelving, and Tom called it pine bookshelves. Trying to organize and structure across multiple people that way can be immensely time consuming, lose you a lot of functionality and even a lot of money, right? Because you're just losing production time there, right? And this way, everything that gets put in and taken off on all your jobs, you never have to worry about your users going in and working and struggling with basic measurement tools, right? Like polylinks, and then having to rename the subject, rename the label, change the display properties, change the text, format the text, and on and on and on, right? That's extremely time consuming. This way, with your tool chests, right? And like I said, these can be on your local drive for your individual use, or you can go ahead and distribute these very, very easily from a centralized server location so that everybody in your company has the same set of tools to work with, right? And at the same time, a couple of other things that you can do with your tools, right? One thing you can do is you can actually embed hyperlinks, right, directly in here. So you see I have one here in our ZenTek tool set where people can actually make suggestions about what other tools they want. And you see it comes with this hyperlink that's already linked to the object. So I could be linking this to, reports or specification sheets or anything else that I need to, right? But you see right here, all I have to do to mail to our support at ZenTek and make a suggestion is just click on that link, and it will automatically launch an email already set to go. So I can pre-program kind of any URL, any hyperlink that I want directly here into my tools and bring those in on the fly, right? Very, very useful. And the other thing that you can do with these, right, is that you can pre-format any tool that you've created to make use of basic layer structures. So you see here, for example, I have two layers that I brought in here. One is casework, and you see that I can actually isolate all of the tools, all of the items that I've brought in are already on predefined layers, right? There's my ZenTek layer for my ZenTek suggestions, so I can turn those on or off, right? So you can really, really customize and build all the tools that you could possibly need for any kind of work that you're doing, right? Without having to have your people do this on a case by case by case basis, right? So what I'm going to do here, I'm just to kind of clean this up. I'm going to delete these from my little presentation screen here. All right, come on. If the system decides to work with me, delete those. There you go. All right, and I'm just going to minimize that down, and I'm going to jump back over to the PowerPoint slide here real fast. All right, if I can find it on my screen, there we go. All right, so that's the basic idea behind working with these tools. That's chest tip number one. All right, and when it comes to the Bluebeam tool chest, there are two ways that you can handle it. You can build those on your own. They're not incredibly difficult, right? The one thing I will say is that they can be a little bit time consuming. It does take time and some understanding to really be able to put together the tools and the components, and you can put together very complex symbols and blocks depending on whether or not you're doing layout, design, and commenting, or basic quantity takeoff tools for counts and symbols. It just depends on what your needs are. And we can train you. ZenTek can teach your staff how to develop, distribute, and work with your own tool sets so you can do it in-house. Or we can absolutely work with you to develop and build your own custom tool sets so that your staff can keep working your billable jobs, and we'll take care of that, those time-consuming things on the back end for you. We also offer and develop, which is kind of what you saw me just using now, our own ZenTek Revu tools that we have pre-developed, right, for different industries. We have them for interior work, interior or exterior work, site takeoff, structural steel takeoff, and we're developing more as we go. So we're here to help you guys with all aspects of getting those tool chests in place and ready to roll. So let's move on to tip number 2, right, which is automated line reporting, or what's very often referred to inside of Bluebeam as custom columns, right? And the idea that inside of Bluebeam, I see a lot of people who use Bluebeam on a daily basis, and they never take it beyond basic quantity takeoff. They use basic area, linear, volume, and count controls, and that's really all they do. Right? From there, they'll extract everything out to Excel and then spend hours and hours and hours doing calculations and formulas and reformatting and manually typing in information like, finishes, dates, make, model, manufacturer, when it has to be ordered, all of those different items, right? They'll do that manually out in Excel or in a different program. When the truth of the matter is, with just a little bit of customization, right, you can have Bluebeam not just be your quantity takeoff tool, but also be your full-blown estimating tool. It can handle everything you need in terms of costing and waste and all of the additional information that you want to be able to add to your quantity takeoff. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that works. I'm going to jump back over into Bluebeam, right? And I'm going to close my properties tab over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a couple of items from I'll use the finishes here. So just to kind of show you, right, some very simple things. So let's just pick a room. I'll use this room over here. It's pretty basic. All right, so I have predefined tools, just like we said. So here I can go in and say, all right, you know what? I've got my trim finish. Right, and you see I've got a standard tool for trim finish, and I can start here at my doorway and say, I'm putting some base trim in here. Right, you see I'm just kind of working my way around the room with a standard measurement. Right, and I'm going to end it here at the door, so I'll just double click. And you see my tool already shows it, with a start and end arrow. So there you go. So I got my trim type with whatever it is. Now, down here in the bottom, right, I'm going to go out to my markups list. Right, so there's my trim item, and here it is in my markups list. You see it already comes in with a subject and a label filled in for me. And down here in the markups list, by the way, I can easily modify the labels and the materials and what these items I'm taking off are right here using my label column. Right, so you see this is, again, set to come in to correspond with a schedule, but maybe I'm not using a schedule. Maybe I just want to put this in and say, hey, this is just going to be 4-inch pine. Okay, I'm using 4-inch pine molding. All right, so very simply, you see it's giving me my measured length, right, around the room. Right, and what's nice about this is that you can, if you look over here to the side, you see I've got trim finish, wall finish, cost per unit, waste percentage. These are all custom developed columns that I've created to handle the information control and the costing controls that I need for this type of takeoff. So right over here, this is trim, so I can just come over to the trim finish. I know it's 4-inch pine, but what kind? What am I doing? Is that baseboard? All right, is it baseboard, casing, chair rail, crown, trim molding? Oh, this is just baseboard. Okay, so you see I'm keeping track of the finish for the trim, what it is, right? My manual labeling for whether it's 4-inch pine, or I can correspond that to a schedule. That's kind of nice. I can do the same thing, right, with some of my other features. So I'm going to come over here, and maybe I need to calculate the wall finish within this room, right? I'm going to do a takeoff. So you see up here, I've got a wall finish type. So I can come in here, and I can easily do the same thing. I'm just going to kind of work my way around the wall. I'm going to go through the door. Sorry about that. I know I'm being a little sloppy, but it's just a demo today. Right? And I'm going to go up here, and then I'm going to close it back out and say, okay, there's essentially my perimeter. She's showing me my start and finish locations. So wall finish type, same kind of thing. I can come in here and change this and say, you know what? This is, let's say it's, half-inch gypsum board. And you see, one of the great things about working with the markups list down here in these custom columns is that once you type something in, Bluebeam holds onto it, so you don't have to keep typing it. You can just get it from a drop down. So this is half-inch gypsum board, right? But what I want to do here is I need to calculate, because this is actually a wall, I need to calculate the wall area. And you see that already here I've got my depth set in. By default right now, this tool is set for 9-foot high walls. but I can easily change that in my depth column and go, hey, you know what? This one is actually a 10-foot high wall. And you see when I change that value, see right here, my wall area, it's calculating the square footage of gypsum board that I need for me in place. Now I can also go in and you see on this, because this is a wall item, I can go over to my wall finishes column. How am I finishing this? Right? How am I painting it? Am I putting tile, paneling, wallpaper, brick, concrete, stucco, whatever items you regularly use, you just put it into a setup list here and say, okay, you know, we're going to paint that gloss. There you go. Simple items. Right? Now I can go beyond that. And you see that I've got custom columns built in here for basic, and it is basic just for demo purposes today. I have basic estimating. I can easily go in and put in a cost per unit. And I can set, by the way, minimum and maximum values here. So if you have fluctuating pricing, so you know that you can get pine from your local warehouse, anywhere between $1.50 and $3 per linear foot. You can set those minimum and maximum values, and on a job by job basis, you can set them so they can fluctuate but never exceed. All right, but I'm just going to go in here and say, okay, you know what? It's $1.25 per foot. Okay. And that's calculating its cost per unit. So it's using the measurement item here, right, which is the linear footage, versus here I can go in and say, okay, you know what, in order to buy the sheetrock, we're getting that for $3.25 per square foot, which is probably really expensive. But so right now, you see it's doing that basic calculation, right? It's taking the square footage, multiplying it by the cost per unit, and giving me a price. Right? Now I can even go in and I can add things like waste percentage or taxes or overtime or whatever additional fees I want. So you see right here, I can go to my trim finish and say, listen, with trim, we usually have a 15%. So I'm going to put 0.15, right? A 15% waste. So you see it's actually adding the additional waste. When we get into dealing with sheetrock, right? It's much higher. We have a 25% waste. So if I put a 25% waste factor in here, you see it's calculating my cost for this room. And what's great about all of these items is that as they change and modify, right, up here, when I change the item, so let's say that this room was resized and it's going all the way out to here. You notice that as I change the layout, the pricing is just updating in real time. I don't have to worry about anything, right? See, it's changing on my linear structure. And then I'm just kind of randomly grabbing some points here. But, if I was doing, I didn't mean to move that. I wanted to stretch it. If I'm doing a much larger room, now you can see that my square footage changes in real time, and then all my pricing will also change in real time, right, for my setup. And I can, again, always same thing. I can always go back in and change the depth for my wall area, whatever it is I need to do. And all of those columns are working in real time. And these columns, right, you can build and customize these yourselves. I'm really in basic structure. Again, I can't get too far into it today because there's some work to it. But basically, you can go in and manage columns, and you can create whatever custom columns you need. So you see for things like trim finish, I can set all the different values that I need and I want to work with, right? And I can even go in for things like cost and subtotals and manufacturing costs, whatever I need. And you see I can calculate and build formulas using all of the different custom fields, the measurement fields, the area, depth, wall volume, and any custom number fields like cost per unit, waste percentage, tax that I have built. I can use those to calculate all my values and numbers, right? Very, very simple. You can actually use this as a real-time quantity takeoff and estimating tool, right? And I can even, like I said, get in here and put things like, the model number, the manufacturer, multiple check boxes, drop-down lists, text boxes, dates, really any kind of custom information that I want. I can build and structure that and save that and distribute that to every single project throughout my company, right? So that these columns will be available. And I can even structure and break those columns down and tie them to profiles. So I get different columns depending on the type of work I'm doing. So I may have one set of columns grouped together for structural work and another for painting work and another for flooring, right? Another for site work, whatever it is, you can build and develop these custom columns to get exactly the output you need. And that's hugely, hugely powerful. All right, so with that said, I'm going to jump back over to my PowerPoint, right? And just let you guys, same thing, right? You can build all these custom data files, and same thing. We can train your staff on how to do this from the ground up. We can create custom data fields for things like, make, model, manufacturer, model numbers, whatever you need in terms of text-based support for your takeoff and markup items. We can build unit costing fields for tax, whatever you need. We can even help you guys and build formula fields for calculating, waste, tax, shipping cost, installation costs, subtotals, different pricings, even alternate pricings. All right. And we can even work with you guys. I didn't even show you today, but we can actually link all of those review fields directly out to your existing Excel pricing template so that your Excel will update in real time. That's something else that we can help you guys with. So if you got any interest in those areas, please reach out to us. So tip number 3 today really comes down to communication, right? And it's the idea of being able to track the status or the state of every single item that you place within your quantity takeoff. I think one of the biggest struggles that we face in the AAC community when we're doing these construction projects and design build projects is, we can go in and we can do a quantity takeoff item or a markup or anything that we do in Bluebeam, but then tracking what happened to it. I did the measurement, I applied the fields, the custom fields and the information, but has that been approved? Has it been ordered? Is it under review? Is it pending, the architect's approval? Has it started construction? Everything that we do in the real world has this requirement for constant communication and status checking, right? And we struggle very, very much in this industry using emails and phone calls and more emails, and then never get responded to, and things get forgotten, and it causes all kinds of back charges and change orders that can be immensely pricey, right? So instead, one of the things that we can do, you'll see that here inside of Bluebeam, I'm just going to expand out these 2 columns. I have these 2 columns called status and comments, and these are standard out of the box columns, right? They're not custom ones. But the great thing is that statuses, right, which is where we're kind of focusing here today, statuses can be customized. You've got a whole customization set here. And right out of the box, most people tend to ignore them because there's kind of a generic example. But I just want to show you today what I did is I went in and I built a custom status set for ZenTek, all right, to be able to track what's going on with our takeoff items. And then we'll get these 2 basic items. But I can go in here to my trim finish, right here, and I can come over to the status and you see I've got a whole series of drop downs. So maybe after we do a quantity takeoff, I need to have the project manager look at what I've taken off, check the values, make sure that I put in the correct, finishes, wall, manufacturer, make, model, all those custom columns that we talked about. Right? I need the PM to check that. So when I'm done, I say, okay, I did the takeoff. It's ready for the project manager to review. And you see what it's doing here is it's keeping track of the date, the time, and who set that status for me. So it's saying, okay, Jim did the takeoff. He set it to the project manager for review. Now, all of these states, you can sort and filter and even generate reports based on states. So I can send reports to the PM, or the PM can just open up this PDF, right? And he can just go through this and say, hey, filter it out and show me only ones that are ready for me to review. And he can start reviewing line by line, item by item, and approving and saying these are good to go. So he can come in here and he can look at this item and say, okay, I looked at this. This is all good to go, or maybe there's a problem. So if he looks at that and says, hey, this is all approved. Now, what I want you to watch is I just put it in here so you guys can see. I can actually have it change text and color so I can get visual cues as to what state things are in. So I can easily say, hey, the project manager approved this. And you see when it changes that, see it changes to green. So I know this is an approved takeoff. It doesn't change my values or anything else. I'm just changing the color state. So visually I can look and say, okay, he's already approved that one. But you see when that state changes, it doesn't overwrite. It keeps an ongoing, it appends them, right? So I can see who did what at any time, because there may be a week between when I set it for review and the PM actually got to doing that, right? And different states, right? He can come down and he can reject it. You see when he rejects it, it changes it to red, right? And you see, I even can have it set in text. So it says, hey, this was rejected, see reply below for reasons. And then I can actually start a conversation, right here, just by clicking on reply, and the PM can add notes. I think we need 6-inch trim here. Check the spec. Okay, he adds a note, just like that. Okay, fine, right? That's been rejected. Now it goes back to the the estimator who goes back in. He checks the spec, looks at it, and goes, no, it's 4-inch. So he can come back in here and he can say, okay, reply. Nope, the spec says 4-inch. We're good to go. Okay. It should be a 2. All right, we're good to go. All right, and you see now what I'm doing, instead of depending on emails and phone calls and so on, I'm using my PDF as my primary communication tool. So then he can come back in and he can change the state, right? I'm sorry, I meant to just double click there. Set it back to the PM to review again, right? And then the PM can go in and say, oh, okay, you know what, you're right, I approve it. And you see the colors changing. And then when it's all done, it's ready to actually order materials, right? And you can see it's actually gone in here and changed it and says, okay, takeoff is complete, order for the project. And again, those are just examples. You can build and customize and structure statuses, right? And you do that right here. You can go in and manage your statuses, and you can build, say I got one set with those options, but I can build, statuses for different workflows, for estimating, for project management, for site control, for owner review, right? I can build and structure as many of those as I need and turn on and off the ones I want. And I can tie those to my profiles so I get the correct tools, the correct statuses, and all the correct columns all linked together for the particular type of work that I'm doing. Really, really powerful stuff that you can do with Bluebeam. All right, so with that, I am going to jump back over. If I can find it again, I'm having a hard time finding these. All right, back to my spreadsheet. And same thing, we can show your staff how to build custom statuses, or we can develop and build them for you, right? And we can integrate, like I said, those status sets into your standard PDF templates and profiles so that you get the same selection sets throughout your entire company, okay? So that's what ZenTek can do for you. All right, so like I said, at the end of the class here, I said I was going to take a few minutes, I know we're running towards the end, to get some Q&A in. And if you guys do have some more questions, please, you can type them into the chat box or the question box. I got a couple of questions come in here. So real quick, from Greg. Greg wants to know, can I keep my own local tools alongside company ones? Yes, Greg, absolutely. You can import and use tools from the central company database that's held on your server, or you can also go in and you can add your own local one. So if you have a specific type of work or certain things that only you do, yeah, you can absolutely have them both running side by side in that same tool palette, no problem. Okay. Question from Andrea, can my field people have access to the tool chest? Yes, absolutely. Bluebeam has a way to, like I said, number one, integrate it from like a hosted server location, so your in-office people can all access those tools. But we can also have those integrated and copy the company standard tools directly to someone's local drive. So if you want to copy it to their, if they got like a 2-in-1 laptop or a Surface Pro and they're going to be working out in the field, they'll have all the correct updated company tools, Andrea. So yes, we can absolutely do that. And one other question here I got from Jorge. Jorge wants to know, can I add column formulas for calculating supports for pipes and conduits? Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. You can actually go in and with the formulas inside of Bluebeam here, right? When I'm working with the different formulas, I can actually go in just as I'm going in and I'm adding, calculations for costs. I'm taking the cost per unit, multiplying it by the measurement, multiplying by the waste percentage and getting values. I can easily go in and take a linear measurement like the trim finish or a pipe or a conduit and say, hey, I can divide that by the overall length, right? Every 12 feet. Right? And say every 12 feet, you got 100 feet, divide by 12. Here's how many, supports or stanchions or hanger brackets or whatever I need. So look at it like this. Any calculation, Jorge, that you can do inside of Excel, you can essentially do it here inside of Bluebeam as well. Okay. And I don't see any other questions coming through. All right. So then what I'm going to do then is go ahead and wind us out. Oh, well, we did get another question just popped in here. Sorry. How do you create a new tool chest and push to the network? I can't get that. That's from Liam. And Liam, I can't give you the whole step-by-step, but in general, the basic concept is when you go to tool chests and you can go to manage your tool chests, right? And from here, right, I can go ahead and I can add tool chests and create new tool chests, and I can actually save them out, right, to any path that I want. So I can save these out to the network. Right? I create them, I can save them on the network, and then essentially my users will have the option to either add from the network, which means they'll open directly from that network location, or they can import for the field users, right, who can then have them on their local drive. It copies them to their local machine. So that's the general idea. You're very welcome, Liam, no problem. All right, so let me go in and jump one more time back out here, and that'll wrap up the Q&A. And I want to thank you guys for joining us today, and I hope that you guys will keep ZenTek Consultants in mind, because we do a lot more than just Bluebeam. We are CAD, Civil, Revit experts, AutoCAD. We work with PlanSwift estimating software, CAD, or SmartDraft. We're Microsoft Cloud Solutions provider, so we can help you with pretty much every single thing that you need in terms of all of your AEC technology. All right, and we'd love the chance to help your business, and we hope you guys will hit our website. And if you guys have any other questions about Bluebeam or anything else, please feel free to shoot us an email at sales@zentekconsultants.net, right, or training@zentekconsultants.net, your choice, and we'll be happy to answer your questions for you. So other than that, I want to thank you guys for joining us today, and I hope that everybody enjoys the rest of their week. Have a good one.